everyone, and welcome. I hope you're enjoying Self PubCon so far. I enjoy it every time that I am a participant and an attendee and also a presenter. Now, today we're going to talk about maximizing your writing time in the age of AI, smart strategies for self-publishers. I'm going to tell you exactly what that means in just a few minutes, but I want you to focus on the word strategies for a few minutes. I'm going to talk to you about some tools. I've got a resources page on my website that talks to you more about those type of things and exactly what you use for what. That's not what we're going to focus on today, although we're going to talk about some tactics as part of this conversation. But primarily, we're going to focus on more of your overall strategy. Like, why are you using AI in the first place? What is it actually doing for you? What problem are you actually trying to solve with it? And are you accomplishing that? Now, who in the world am I and why would you listen to me? Well, I'm the author of over 32 novels and counting, several works of nonfiction, a developmental editor and book coach, a speaker and educator, a freelance writer and a journalist, and an occasional sleeper. That's actually true. I sleep between 5 and 6 hours a night. That seems to be all my body needs. So, who knows? Everybody's different, right? But anyway, but what is the problem? So what's the problem that we're trying to talk about and solve here? Well, here's the thing in the age of AI. There are all kinds of AI tools and tech distractions. Along with social media, which we already had, which was the big one for authors. I mean, I don't know how many conferences I've been to over the past years where that was one of the topics. That was just the main topic was, oh my goodness, how do I stay off social media? And by the way, post about this talk on Instagram, right? Stuff like that. So now we've moved to where there's lots of AI tools and tech distractions along with that, where, hey, this is the way you can do this faster or do this or perform this task or whatever. And some of those tasks were tasks that you were never doing in the first place. And now you have a tool to perform them, but you have to learn how to use the tool and all that kind of stuff. Also, this is the bane of all authors all the time. Too much time on marketing, admin, and it takes away from my writing time. Like, I want to market my books. I want them to sell, but I also want to write books. I mean, that's why I got into this in the first place. Self-publishing is a business. Most writers didn't understand that when they signed up for it. I didn't understand it. Of course, that was a number of years ago. You can tell by all my white hair, right, that I've been doing this for a little while. Okay. Well, let's talk for a second about strategy versus tactics. I already mentioned this, but strategy is your big picture plan. This is your long-term vision. Why are you doing what you're doing? This helps you focus on goals, not just tasks. Now, you should have an overall writing strategy and an overall publishing strategy, right? And these types of things that we're going to talk about today fit into that strategy. If they don't, then maybe they don't belong at all. And we'll talk about that in a minute as well. Tactics are the specific actions you take. So when you say, I'm going to use Chat GPT to give me some ideas when I have writer's block, that is a tactic because Chat GPT could go away or there's a replacement for it. And if I talk about those tactics in a talk like this, this talk becomes obsolete in like 10 minutes from now when a new tool comes out to do something else that's new and shiny. And that's partly what we're talking about here. Okay. So an example is a strategy, create more time to write by reducing my marketing workload, right? The tactics are that you automate your email list onboarding with MailerLite or Encharge, or you schedule posts weekly with Buffer or Vista Social or whatever platform it is that you use, right? That's a tactic though. So I might move from MailerLite to a different mail service provider, which I already have, by the way, or I schedule posts with a different software than Buffer or Vista Social. Maybe I use Hootsuite or something like that. It doesn't really matter which tool you use. The strategy idea is the same. I don't spend as much time on social media because many of my posts, my automation posts and my marketing posts are already automated. So I don't have to remind myself on Thursday at 11 to be at home and go onto social media and post my book launch thing. It's already happening automatically without me there, right? That's the strategy. Then I can be spending Thursday at 11 writing the next book instead of doing that. Okay. One other thing we're going to talk about is opportunity versus distraction. Okay. And this is part of what I'm talking about. There's new tools out there for AI tools that'll come out and I'll say, you can do this task automated using AI. And you're going, I've never done that thing before, but now that I can automate it and have AI help me do it for me, well, maybe I'm going to do that. But the question is, an opportunity will always fit into your overall strategy. Does that task that you've never done before in your writing career ever, does that fit into your strategy? Now, maybe it does. And maybe you've been putting off doing it because you just don't have time. It's too much effort. You don't know how to do it. And now there's a tool that'll help do it for you. And you're like, oh, yay, it's an opportunity to add that to my strategy, which I've wanted to do for a long time, but haven't been able to. Or is it a distraction? Is this something over here that goes, that's not even really related to my strategy? I don't even have to do that. Like, why am I going to automate my TikTok posts when I'm not on TikTok and I'm not on Book Talk? Do I need to be? Do I have to be? The answer is no, you don't need to or have to be there. You can be. It's an option. And for you, that may be a distraction depending on where you are in your author career and the other things that you're doing, right? Only pursue opportunities. Okay, so I'm going to give you a real world example. I'm going to reference this here, and then at the end, I'm going to show you some of the strategies that I use to accomplish this. So this year, I have a big problem because I'm doing this big project. I have this thing called the Solitaire Project. It's a deal I have with Spotify where I'm producing 52 short audio versions of a bunch of stories that I wrote a long time ago. I haven't really done anything with them. So there are 52 audio first short stories, one a week for an entire year. That means I have to produce emails, social media, ads, promotions, and I still have to do all my writing and other editing stuff. So how in the world do I add something that seems like it could be so time consuming every single week? And it is, but I'm going to tell you about some ways that I've lowered that load as we go along. But right, this is a real example, right? This is an opportunity. I'm going to make some money off of this, right? But to make it happen requires a tremendous amount of time and effort. And if I take all that time and effort away from everything else that I'm doing, I won't accomplish anything else. Okay. That'll be my issue. So we're going to work through and talk about problems like this. Now, your problem may not be this huge. Okay. And the opportunity may not be this huge, right? You may have to balance that out and see what it is. But the example is you have this big opportunity, but it creates a huge workload. How am I going to add that into my everyday life? Because even though I write and edit full time, as you saw from that slide, I do a lot of things, right? I have to spend a lot of time doing stuff. Okay. So the first one strategy is time tracking and auditing. I cannot stress the importance of this one enough. Know where your time is going, identify the leaks, and plug those leaks with time blocking. Time blocking and also using other tools, okay? Because here is the thing. You have certain times a day when you are the most creative and the most productive, creative and writing-wise, okay? I absolutely know that you have that, right? Because I have that. Every writer I know has their ideal time, right? That they should write. And a lot of times what we do is we end up spending that time on something else. And then we sit down to write later or whenever we feel like we have time and it doesn't work for us. The other thing is you'll be wasting time on social media and stuff like that. There's a tool I'm going to recommend to you called Rescue Time, but I'm going to warn you ahead of time. The first time that you look at that report, after you've had it installed for about a week or so, you're going to be very discouraged because you're going to see the amount of time that you actually spend on YouTube, where you think, oh, it's just 10 minutes here, 15 minutes here. It's no big deal. I was doom scrolling for a while, but I went back to what I was doing, and it adds up to hours of your time is gone. Okay. So the first thing is to just track your time, but also track how you're feeling. Track what your mood is. Track how productive you are during that writing time and optimize your time. And we're going to talk about this a little more later, but optimize your time for the things that you do best during that time. Okay? Don't let that get away from you. Okay. So what are we going to use for tactics? Use Motion AI. It's an AI calendaring and time blocking tool. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. Rescue Time, I told you about that, where it tracks your time and tasks. You can also use that if you have Apple products. There's an Apple tracking thing you can turn on, and you can look at your screen time and what you were doing during that time. Toggle is another program for that. There's also spreadsheets that you can use to track your efficiency and your mood using spreadsheets or other tools. And then you change your schedule accordingly. You're like, well, when I wrote from 10 to 11, that was my most productive time. Okay, then set your writing time from 10 to 11 in the morning. So you're using that time the most wisely. Now, most writers, it's usually either early morning or late at night is your best writing time, depending on whether you're a night owl or an early morning person. So, but you can determine that by just tracking how you're doing when you write at certain times of day. Okay. Now, strategy 2, automate repetitive tasks. Email marketing and onboarding is one of the number one things of this. Even writing emails, we'll talk about that in a little bit when we talk about using AI to create drafts for you. And then you can edit those drafts and send them out. It does make the process much faster. I will tell you that. But email marketing and onboarding, man, that takes a lot of time. If every time somebody comes onto your email list, you go, oh, goody, and you stop what you're doing and send them an email, right? Eventually you'll be doing BookBub promos and other things like that, and you'll be getting sometimes 200-300 emails at a time, email addresses at a time added to your list. You're not going to sit down and write 100 emails, and you can't send out a bunch of those from your Gmail address in bulk. It's not going to work. So you need an email marketing system, MailerLite. I happen to use Encharge, which I think is a really great program. There's ConvertKit. There's MailChimp, which is terrible. Don't get me started. But there's all kinds of options out there. There's SendFox, which is a very basic tool, but it's a lifetime deal. Works actually pretty well. Okay. So all kinds of stuff like that. Social media scheduling and even writing posts. We talked about Buffer, Vista Social, Hootsuite, all those types of things. But basically the strategy is you're going to schedule social media stuff, right? The tools that you use to do it can be different. You can even automate posting to your blog. You can speed up things like book formatting using tools like Vellum and Atticus, stuff like that. The list is endless, and we're going to talk about how to determine what's on that list in just a minute here, okay? So how do you choose what to automate? Well, the first thing you ask is, can I automate this task? So because there's some tasks that you really can't or shouldn't automate. As an editor, I usually have a 15-minute free consultation with someone. I can't automate that. They actually want to talk to me for 15 minutes, right? I can't put up an avatar and have an AI answer for me because each individual is so different, right? It doesn't work that way. So I can't automate that task. What I can automate is how they schedule that time. I can have a calendaring system that they go through and they book a time with me on that calendar. And I just show up at the time that my calendar tells me that they want me to show up. Right. And that my calendar blocks out all my appointments and things like that. So if I'm not available, they can't schedule that time. Right. That's a task I can automate. I don't have to email back and forth with them. Thursday at 3 work for you? No, I have to walk my dog. How about Friday at 9? No, you don't have to do all that. Do that with tools. Now, if you need to automate something, what tools do I already have that can make that happen? My calendaring tool is a tool called TidyCal. Are there all kinds of cool, neat, new ones out there that have come out since TidyCal? You betcha. One of them's really cool. It's called LunaCal. It's even cooler than TidyCal. Am I going to switch, though? No. Right? I already have a tool that can make that happen. It works. It's effective. And it's a system that keeps going, right? So then what tools do I need that I don't already have? So let's say you want to automate some of your processes for drafting things, right? And you want to use a tool like Pabbly or Zapier or Mazzal. Okay, first of all, you have to go and get that tool. Like you have to have an account with that tool, and you have to decide how you're going to pay for it. If there's a lifetime deal or if you pay monthly or how that works, right? And then you have to decide, what do I need to learn in order to automate this task? So if I go pick up one of those programs, okay, I've got it. Awesome. That's cool. What do I do? What do I have to learn to make that program work? Well, that's different, right? That's hard. That's harder to do. Okay. And how long will it take me to learn that? And then what problem am I actually trying to solve? Is this actually a problem that I need to solve? Or is this just something that maybe I just have to do? Okay. So see if you're actually solving a problem by automating something. Don't automate something that's really just it's not accomplishing anything. Okay. But factor in all these different factors. How long does it take you to do this? How long does it take you to learn how to do it some other way and automate it? And then once it's automated, how much time does that actually save you? Does that actually solve a problem or just create a different one? Okay. Now, tactics and tools. There are way too many tactics and tools to talk about in this particular section about this particular thing. So this is a QR code. You can go to my website. There's a page that has a bunch of tools and the information on it. And I'll be adding some more to that all the time. And I'll show this QR code again at the end here. Okay, we're not going to go into tactics and all the tools. I mentioned a few of them in that brief part of the presentation. I am not going back to talk about more of them at this point. Right? It would take too much time. We'll never get through these other strategies that we have. Okay, the next one is batch your work. Okay, create versus promote versus admin, right? You have creation time, you have promotion time, and you have just business admin time. If you do all of those things in a batch, and I'm going to tell you how I did some of that for the solitaire series when we get down to the end, then if you do it all together, first of all, you're more focused and you save time. Okay, because you can do more at once. Okay. You also batch by energy level. So my writing time always comes in the morning. If I try to throw that into the afternoon, I can do it, but I don't do it as well. It's not as effective and I'm not nearly as focused. So that's the time for promotions and admin and other things like that, right? The information you need to batch your work and do this effectively come from step one, where you know where your time goes. You have to do that initial time tracking and understanding where's my time going and how can I rein that in. Okay. And then when you start developing a time blocking plan, then you block time. So like as a spoiler for solitaire, what I did was I block recording time. On an afternoon and evening, I record a whole bunch of episodes at once and edit them all at once. Right. And then I have another afternoon and evening where I upload all of those to the various different retailers and sites where they belong. Right. But I do that all at once. Why? Because it's a repetitive task and some of it's automated and I can trigger those automations over and over again and then get it done. And then it's done. It's done for 3 months ahead of time. And then I don't have to do that again. If you're creating emails for your email list, set aside a day and create your emails for the next quarter because you should have an overall marketing strategy, right? So you have certain things that you're doing each month for certain types of promotions. You already have a promotion schedule because you have a promotion strategy, right? Just nod along and say yes. If you don't, you need to get one, but that's a whole other talk for a different time. But you batch those strategic things all at once. One afternoon, I'm going to spend it writing Facebook ads and creating creative for Facebook ads, right? And that's what I'm going to do that afternoon. And I'm going to schedule all that out, or I'm going to have it all in folders and ready to go. And I'm not going to do that task again for the next 2 weeks or the next month because I've done everything for that time period in one batch of time. You get the idea. Right? You're going to spend your time batching your work. Okay. There's not a lot of resources for this other than use some time batching tools, some time blocking, scheduling and stuff on your calendar. We talked about those already. I'll mention those over and over and over again whenever you hear me talk. Okay. About efficiency and stuff like this. That's because those things are really important for that. Okay. Use AI wisely. Okay. Drafting emails and social media posts. Always check these. Ad copy, always check those too. But you can have AI create these for you. There's a number of different ways to do this. We're not going to go too deeply into tactics. I'm going to mention some programs in the next slide. This is more about strategy. Like ad copy is really hard to produce good ad copy quickly. However, you can have AI draft it and then be sure that you go over those and add your human touch to them. Humanity reaches to humanity. That's a whole other talk that I have too, right? But you need to humanize all of the stuff that AI produces and make it yours and make it genuinely coming from you, and you will have greater success. But can you get a draft out of AI? Oh yeah, you betcha. It can create all kinds of really great drafts, right? Conceptualizing covers, even if you don't use AI for your covers, which most of the time you should not because of necessarily the ethical concerns, although there are some of those. But because of the quality, you can only get something so far purely using AI. Then you have to have a human intervention, right? So you can create a cover concept and then you hand it to your cover designer or somebody like that that's an illustrator or graphic designer, and they finish it. They finish your cover. They fix it. Okay. Now, creating ad creative with human input, same thing as covers. AI can produce some really cool images, but some of them can be really messed up. People have 6, 8 fingers. It's getting better at that type of thing. Or in the case of the Solitaire series, if you tried to get it to produce what a playing card looks like, seemed to be very difficult for AI to understand what an 8 of hearts looks like, right? It just has some issues with that. So use AI wisely. Again, always human check, always human input. Always go back and look at what it's producing. Okay. But you can use ChatGPT, Midjourney, Grok. All of those are really good. ChatGPT has a new image model as of the moment that I'm speaking to you about this. If you're watching this 6 months from now, somebody else has a new image model. Midjourney, Grok. Then you can use Mozal or AI for automation of the process of getting that from the creation into a spreadsheet or something where you can look at it. Raptor, Claude, there's all kinds of tools that you can use in these parts of the process, right? Again, I've got that page. I'll show you that link again or that QR code again at the end. But yeah, absolutely. There's all kinds of tools and those change all the time. So like I say, if you're watching this 6 months from now, this list could be outdated. So just skip to the next slide because that's what I'm going to do. Okay. Now, strategy 5 is systemize your publishing process. Okay, so you should have a system already for your publishing, your drafting process, your publishing process, and your marketing process. This should be a part of your overall writing business strategy if you're doing this as a business. If you're at Self-PubCon, you're a self-publisher, you're doing this for a reason, right? And part of the reason, at least, is to, even if you're not going to make a fortune, make some of your money back and sell your books, right? So you need to have a repeatable workflow. And within that workflow, every single thing has steps. For instance, you have templates for launch plans, email sequences, ARC outreach. Consider tools like Novelio, Airtable, Notion, Asana, etc. Okay, all of those tools are really great for creating templates for different parts of your process, of your writing process. Okay, so do that. Use those tools. And again, we're going to automate our email sequences. We're going to automate some of our launch plans and some of the social media that goes with that. We're going to have a certain amount of automation as part of our ARC outreach. Every time somebody on your review team messages you, you're not going to individually send them a file. Through BookFunnel or Story Origin, you're going to set up a thing where that file is automatically delivered to them, right? You're going to automate this process. But first, in order to automate it, you have to have a system in place in the first place, because you go through each one of these and you're like, which part of this process can I automate? Exactly like we talked about earlier. But if you don't have a process in place, then you can't determine what you can automate and what you can't, and whether it's a distraction or an opportunity, because you don't know what you're doing, right? So you have to have some kind of a system. Now, some of you are like, oh man, a system planning, that just drives me absolutely crazy. Okay, yeah, you don't have to do that for the writing part of your process, although I do have some arguments about how that might help you. However, for the editing, formatting, launch, all that kind of a process, you absolutely should have systems in place, because then you know exactly what to do next. Decision fatigue is actually a thing for authors. And if you make too many decisions in a day and you get decision fatigue, when you sit down to write, you can't make decisions about which way your story is going to go. You're out of pennies or spoons or whatever analogy you want to use, right? You don't have any left for making decisions. So then you end up in a situation where you literally can't create the way that you want to. Okay. This is why we put systems in place for this, right? It's very simple. The reason I do it is so I don't have to decide something. I go editing process. Okay. I'm done with the self-revision process. I send it to my editor. How quickly do I do that? I put it in a Google Drive folder, and I have my system automated where it sends her an email automatically. Hey, there's a manuscript for you to edit in this file. Please grab it. Let me know how you're doing with it. And generally, I have a schedule and a format for that already. Okay. So that's the way that works. Automate that process as much as you possibly can. You can automate your emails to where a new file gets dropped in a certain folder and somebody gets a notification, maybe even you, that gets a notification that that thing is ready to do whatever it is that you need to do with it. You can even have a folder for your editor to drop it in when they're done editing the draft that automatically sends you an email and says, hey, by the way, so and so is done with your editing. Go and check it out. Okay. Real simple stuff, right? Simple stuff to set up, but it's stuff that will save you all kinds of time and effort. And you don't have to be watching that file every day to see whether that file reappears there or waiting for an email from your editor. Instead, it's just shared through a cloud folder. It's awesome. It's actually amazing. Okay. So do things like that. Now, strategy 6, delegate or outsource. If you determine that you still need to do this task, but you can't automate it and it takes up too much time for you, hire a VA or a freelancer for things like formatting, marketing tasks, research, creating a series Bible. Time equals money. Don't do everything yourself. You cannot do everything yourself. You will want to. As a self-publisher, you will want to run your entire business and do it all yourself. Guess what? You can't. It sucks. Stop trying. Okay. It doesn't ever work for you. Okay. Now, some of you are going to say, oh, it's too expensive. Actually, no, it's not, because I consider, first of all, automation is what I'm doing is I'm delegating or outsourcing something to AI or some kind of an automation platform, right? If I'm delegating it to a person, there are all kinds of people. BookBrush has a program. There's all kinds of other places that have a program, have programs where you can hire VAs that are trained to do author work that are from the Philippines or other places. You can get them for sometimes $7 to $9 an hour, and you're still getting high quality work for that. And you're getting someone that you're making a difference in someone's life, right? But there are more complex tasks that you don't want to hire out to people in the Philippines or whatever, that you want to, maybe you want to hire somebody in the US, especially for specific tasks like creating series Bibles and things like that, right? And there are some fantastic US-based VAs. Adriel Wiggins is one of them that comes to mind. She does continuity editing, but she also does VA work of various types. Now, she doesn't do social media, so maybe that's what you want to outsource to the Philippines, right? So she doesn't do some things, but other things she does, right? And if you don't want to outsource to the Philippines, you don't have to. Hire somebody that's in the States to do all the work that you can do, right? Just understand you'll be paying a little bit more money for it, but that's fine, right? That's a choice as well. But don't keep trying to do everything yourself. I mean, I know how to do formatting and can do it very, very fast, and I do it for other people as well. But the reason I do it for other people is I had a gal come to me and she's like, I have been fooling with this manuscript for hours, and I cannot get this formatting to do exactly what I want it to do. And I fixed it for her in under an hour because I have expertise that she does not have. So I was able to fix her problem really quickly, right? So hire somebody who's a professional in that area, knows what they're doing, and can help you with that task. Okay. Don't try to do everything yourself. Okay. Strategy 7, protect your writing time. Protect your writing time. Protect your writing time. I don't know if I said it often enough, so I'll say protect your writing time. This comes back to what we're talking about with time blocking, right? Your writing is how you're producing the product that you are able to sell as a self-publisher. Okay. So you must take time to write. It is still, writing is still, regardless of everything that's happening with AI and all the stuff that's happening around us, writing is still about the craft of writing and the time and emotion and energy that you spend writing. So first of all, like I was talking about, don't let yourself make so many decisions that you don't have time or energy to write, and you don't have the decisions left to make the right choices about your manuscript. Don't do it. But second of all, block your writing time off like you would a doctor's appointment or anything else. And do not let anyone take that time away from you, regardless of how much of a priority they may or may not think that they are and what they need from you is. Okay, whatever it is not more important than your writing time. Protect your writing time. Okay, So let's review real quick. Work smarter, not harder. What the first thing you're going to do is you're going to audit your time, figure out where your time's going, where there's leaks, plug them. Okay. Automate what you can. Okay. Automate everything that you can. Batch things together. Work on similar things at the same time. Work on creative processes at the same time. Then move on to working on promotions. Then move on to admin. Have blocked out time for those things. Don't try to multitask. Multitasking is a myth. Focus is what's going to get you where you want to go. Okay. Use AI as an assistant and use it wisely. That's all I'm going to say about that. Systematize everything that you do. Have a system for what you do and follow the system. Okay. Follow the system, the same repeatable pattern over and over again. This is how you're going to determine what you can automate, where you can batch things, what AI can help you with, et cetera, et cetera. If you get to the point where all of those things you can't automate it, then outsource it or delegate it. Okay. Send it out to somebody. Have your spouse, if they really want to be a help to you in your writing process, say, hey, what I need you to do is I need you to track my sales and royalties and let me know how I'm doing at the end of the month. So I don't have to worry about that. If you have a partner who's good with Excel or whatever, or all those different things, have them be the ones that are in charge of that. And then protect your writing time. Protect your writing time. Protect your writing time. Okay, we'll go back to the real world example real quick before I close. Solitaire solutions. Okay, first of all, what I do is I did a time audit. I calibrate how long it takes to edit and record episodes. They're already written for the most part. How long does it take to create blurbs, emails, social media posts, etc.? Then I time blocked weekly solitaire time. Now, how did I calibrate that? Is I did each task and set a timer while I'm doing each task. Now, over time, do I get faster at each task? Yep, you betcha. That's fantastic. That's wonderful. But my initial time calibration still stands, right? And so I still block out that much time every week for solitaire work. And I block each part of it out in times that are appropriate. I block out recording times in the times when my girlfriend is at work and when the neighbors are quiet. So that even though I'm in a sound booth and it's pretty soundproof, nothing goes wrong during that recording time, right? Because there's nothing worse than coming out of your creative recording fun time and being mad about the whole thing. Okay. Then I automated the creation of blurbs, social media posts, weekly emails, blog posts, and scheduling of social media posts and emails. All of that is automated as much as possible. Okay. Now, I batched recording time, recorded several episodes at a time rather than one a week. I get and stay ahead. Okay, I developed a system for uploading episodes to platforms and scheduling releases. That's batched as well. Parts of each system are done at the same time. I mentioned that earlier, but that's exactly how I solved that problem. I delegated some analytics and ad management. Okay, and then I protect my time through time blocking and time limits. Time limits is something I didn't talk about in a large part in this, but time limits are really important. I have 2 hours to work on this task. I set a timer or a reminder, and 2 hours from now, I stop working on that task and move on to the next one, no matter what. Don't keep working on a task because you think, oh, I'm on a roll, because all that's going to do is mess up the rest of your time blocking. And at the end of the day, you're going to be aggravated and you're going to feel like you made poor decisions. Okay, so this is a recorded presentation. Normally I'd take some Q&A, and you've probably seen me around at the conference anyway. But if you want some resources and to contact me, here is that QR code again. Go to my website, okay? Look over this page. At the bottom is a form for you to sign up for my email list. If you want more information, sign up for that email list. You'll get things on a regular basis. It's usually just tips and tricks and maybe some special offers and things like that. But it's no spam ever. I hate being spammed, so I'm not going to spam you either. So I'm just not going to do it. Okay. But there's places on that website for you to contact me. Okay. In the footer and everything as well. Or find me on social media, or find me at a conference, whatever you happen to do. But reach out and contact me if you have questions. I love talking about this type of thing. I love talking about the craft of writing. And then the reason I like talking about this, I love talking about how to protect the time that I spend in that human effort of creating my stories. With that, thanks for joining me, everybody. I appreciate it, and we'll see you around.